Hey guys, how you guys doing tonight? It is Garrett O'Brien, your host on Rewired the show. I'm going to, as you can notice behind me, I'm kind of in a different setting right now. We're actually where I'm at is a place called Heritage Theater, Gizzy's Eatery, which is the deal that I have, down here on the bottom of my screen. It's one of my sponsors and someone who promotes veteran help and also helping others who are not veterans to, push through their problems as well. So this place that I'm at, she's phenomenal. Gizzy is an amazing person, and she's, given me the opportunity to use not only one room, but her entire area, and this her building consists of, three different office fronts, and it's pretty amazing to have a friend who is willing to open up her business, while they have other things going on, to let me to come to y'all live and talk about my experiences and kind of what I've done to get through a lot of my problems. But tonight, I just wanted to get into what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about running away from problems. Running away from problems is never good. The reason why is because when you run from problems, all you're really doing is you're stuffing that problem that you have down to the bottom of your pit of your soul, the back of your mind, and you try to forget about it. What the problem is especially when it's trauma, you can't forget about it. It will re it'll resurface eventually, and it'll cause nothing but problems. Like I always talk about, my first marriage. I have forgiven my ex-wife for the things that have happened, the abuse and all that stuff. And I've moved past all of that, because had I held on to any of that stuff, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all right now. I wouldn't be telling you about the things that I've done to overcome the issues that I had. And one of those things that kind of lost track of my thoughts there, but when it comes to sticking through it and not running, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of backbone to just stick through it and stay with it and push through. I'm not saying if you're in an abusive relationship that you stay in that abusive relationship because you want to push through. I'm saying that if you have something that happened in your life that is causing trauma, that is causing another relationship to have problems, stick with it, push through those problems, and don't run, because I promise you, running from those problems will only push those problems to the next person after that. And hey, how's it going? I'm glad you can make it. Appreciate you. But I kind of want to go into detail about running from problems, because that's one of the things that I have done my entire life. And, I didn't really identify that I had problems that I was running from until I actually moved here about 6 months ago. I'm kind of going into a little bit of backstory about that. I was going through my second wife leaving me, taking off, separation, all that stuff. I was also dealing with the kids telling me that they wish I had died in Afghanistan, not wanting to talk to me and not wanting to do anything. So basically, I took all that as an excuse to run away from any of my problems, just push it down and just run through it. And you probably hear a couple environment things going on. That's just natural business. So again, Gizzy is an amazing person who let me use this place. So, she's got an active business going on. So that's why you have interruptions and whatnot. So don't mind, any of that stuff. But anyways, where I was at when I was talking about, running from my problems only created more problems, because when I ran from the issues that I had with my first wife, I was not only stuffing that stuff down, I was rehashing those in my second marriage. And when I rehashed those in my second marriage, it caused my second wife to run. And, it's really hard to bring up your trauma. Believe me, I have trauma lasting all the way until I was, a toddler. And once you realize that the past will not define you, it's what your future will define you, you're going to keep living in that, that vortex that goes down. You know, you're going to keep going into the tornado or the storm and sticking in there. And, you know, I urge you to take accountability for your stuff, not your, you know, the person that is causing all the abuse or any of that stuff. You know, take accountability for your actions and what you do, because ultimately, you know, that second person that's in your relationship may not be there your entire life, and you're still going to have you. So it's very important to focus on your healing and focus on the things that you do to get you through, you know, healthily get you through the things that, you know, you go through. So, you know, more along the lines of running away. I was infamous for running from my problems. You know, kind of circling back into why I came here. You know, I was at a point where I was ready to give my life up. And, you know, like I said before, is I attempted 6 times on my own life and failed miserably at all of them. Thank God for that, because God knew I had a purpose. But running away, you know, my buddy, he gave me a call. My buddy Kevin Doncaster, he was on my show on the second week. He invited me up here to join a program that helps people with PTSD get through by using the help of horses and equestrian riding and halter and lead. And, you know, this one instance where I finally figured out I was giving up halfway and just wanted to run was when I was with this horse called Hot Rod. This horse was an amazing horse. And basically what the exercise they had me do was the instructor, I'm not going to name her name because I don't want to, you know, put her out there unless, you know, she wants me to. So I'm going to, these guys are going to be nameless. You know, she told me to walk the horse in a figure 8, you know, leading the horse on the ground. I had the rope in my hand, the halter was on him and everything. You know, I was leading the horse, and, you know, everything was going great until I got about halfway through. All of a sudden, the horse bumped into the back of me, was kicking my heels and just completely doing its own thing. And if you know anything about horses, horses feed off of your energy. And if you have negative energy, horses can feel that. If you have positive energy, horses can feel that. So this horse started hitting me in the back, you know, not really necessarily hitting, but bumping me with his nose in my back, and, you know, is basically walking on my heels and whatnot. And I got through, and then, you know, I stopped and I looked at the instructor. I was like, I don't know what happened. And she's like, really? And I'm like, I had a realization, you know, and that realization was that I gave up halfway through that. The horse picked up on me giving up halfway through and started doing its own thing. That's why I am a firm believer in horse therapy. And from looking at my feed right now, I apologize for the internet. It goes up and down a little bit in this room. So I may have, as you can see, you know, some buffering and stuff like that problems. But I assure you next week it'll be different. But anyways, back to the story. So through that therapy with the horse, I realized that I gave up halfway through everything. And I'm talking about everything. You know, I started my first marriage and I was already done. You know, I was like, this is just going to fail anyways, you know, nothing, it's whatever, you know, I'm not even going to try anymore. It's going to fail anyways. You know, I didn't know it back then that I was dealing with this. And then it happened, you know, in some of the things in the military. Well, I'm doing great. Awesome. All right. It's going to fail sometime. And then I just started giving up. You know, my second marriage, this is, you know, it's going to go great. It's going to go great. And then everything was going great. And then I started, you know, something's going to happen. It's going to fail. I'm just going to give up. And sure enough, you know, that horse showed me that how many times that I failed through my life because I chose to give up. You know, imagine all those times that I could have just been sticking through it and that, you know, pushing through it. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now talking to y'all. And so I'm thankful for where, you know, God has taken me in my path. And, you know, I want to talk about another thing because fear feeds into one of the reasons why I run from everything. And I'm sure fear, feeds into yours as well. And what fear does, fear can knock you on your butt. Fear is one of those things that stops you in your tracks, turns you around, and puts you back in a place of comfort. And I'm telling you, being uncomfortable is where you want to be, because if you're uncomfortable, nothing but growth can come from that uncomfort. And again, I'm not talking about a abusive relationship, because if you're in an abusive relationship, like I talked about last week, you need to get out of that relationship, because that other person is the one that needs to change. And I'm not saying, you don't have problems or anything like that, but the other person could get to the point to where they're hurting you. So you need to get out of a situation like that. But what I'm saying about running away from a relationship or running away from problems is this. My second wife took off because of her. She had trust issues with lying and stuff like that. I'm with an addiction that I had, I lied about it. And that brought up a lot of trauma for her from her first marriage and things that she's gone through. And I mean, she's all about the truth. And that's one of the things that I have really admired about her, is that she can be brutally honest with you and still love you in the same. And I'm not saying I'm all for divorce or anything like that, but I wish that she could see me now. But the thing is right now is not a good time, because she has to go through the healing that she needs to get to herself into a place. And that has nothing to do with me. And I completely understand that right now we have to be separated for that reason. Hey, what's up, James? Glad you could make it. Again, a few minutes ago, I was talking about, I'm kind of in a new area where, just for this show, that my internet speed's not really there. So my show's going to be probably, kind of buffering or choppy and whatnot. So I apologize for that. This is just a temporary thing. I'm working on getting a place next week. So next week I'm not working on a place, but I'm going to be in the other room next week. It's just this week they have, I'm at a place called Heritage Theater, Gizzy's Eatery. It's kind of like a dine-in theater. And she does all sorts of stuff here. And they actually have production going on right now. If you follow me on Facebook, I'm promoting everything that comes out of this place, and they have a pretty big play this week, and it's called Hillbilly Heaven by director Joe Sears. And they do all this stuff. So I'm thankful for all that stuff. All right, good. I'm glad it sounds good for y'all. I kind of lost track of where I was at. I usually go on to tangents, stuff like that, and I apologize for those tangents. But I just want to let you guys know that I do care about what I'm talking about. That as far as the running away and getting help, and stuff like that. But getting back on track to running away. My wife, she has a lot of things that she needs to handle on her own, and I understand that. I'm at a point now where I can understand that. I'm at a point now where I have to accept that, because she is her own person. I can't control anything that she does. I can only sit here and better myself. And one way to better myself is not run from my problems, because that's all I used to do. I kind of want to tell you another thing. I talked about fear a few minutes ago, and fear does play into running away from your problems, because you get scared, you try to protect yourself, and that's all what fear is. Fear is a defense mechanism it helps with the defense mechanism to get yourself out of a situation that could potentially hurt you. But it also, what it does is you can have a fear of succeeding. You could have a fear of overcoming. And that's what I had. I had a fear of actually being successful. I had a fear of wanting to do good. And, it's one of those things when it comes to psychological, or the psychological side of it is, having a fear to succeed. I mean, that sounds completely ludicrous, but it's real and it's possible. And I had it. But what did I mean by, having a fear that could basically, completely turn me away from everything? Well, I'm gonna tell you another story about a horse lesson I had with a gentleman who actually does very well with training and helping the youth, troubled youth, the youth in inner cities and whatnot, and actually has a program where he helps these kids overcome their stuff and figure out that there's a better way of life than the life they're living. But what this guy did was we were riding horses one day, and I was riding a horse called Walker. Walker is probably one of my favorite horses on the ranch. He's a Tennessee Walker. He's just like me. He's like, there's something going on. A squirrel, I mean, literally, like, attention goes somewhere else. And, they had the horse riding on another lesson earlier in the day, but we stopped at this pond that's on the property. And, the instructor had the guy I worked with, he went in the water, took the horse in the water, was tromping around, and then came out. So, the instructor told me, he's like, hey, man, get in the water. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. So I tried kicking the horse, nothing was happening. Trying to whip him in the butt, nothing was happening. He was even whipping the horse in the butt, nothing was happening. The horse was dead stop in his tracks, right there with his hooves, front hooves, barely in the water. So we did that for about 5 minutes. The horse, would get freaked out, and then all of a sudden it would take off, and I'd have to bring it back around and put it right back in the water. And, we were doing that for about 5 or 10 minutes, and finally the instructor looked at me, and he's like, what are you scared of? I'm like, I'm not scared of nothing. What do you mean? And I was like, I grew up in the ocean. I love water. I'm not scared of riding horses. I'm not scared of getting hurt. I don't know what you're talking about. And then, bam, I had a vision and I had a message given to me. And literally knocked me on my butt when I heard this. Basically, what had been said, it was nobody around, it was the thought that went into my head. And I'm a firm believer that God was the one who put that thought there, was that stop living your life by fear. The horse can feed off your fear. So basically, the horse was feeding off my fear, would not go in the water because it was terrified, because of me being terrified, of succeeding, me being terrified of actually overcoming my problems. And that was one of those huge perspective switches and one of those changes that I had when it came to overcoming, just the things that I deal with. Realizing, just with those two instances, realizing that I quit everything halfway through, I gave up, didn't care. And then the second one, figuring out I lived my entire life by fear. Dude, my mind was blown. And I mean, this was one of those things that it opened my eyes to a whole new perspective. And I realized I can't run anymore. I have to sit here. I have to face this. I have to get through it if I really want to heal and get to a place to where I can be the man that I am designed to be. And it's really hard for someone, with a lot of pride, or someone who doesn't think that they have anything wrong with them, to finally grasp. But I'm telling you, from my own personal perspective, if you're giving up halfway through stuff, or if you are quick to kick somebody out of your life that, you think they're going to hurt you, you really need to really check on your stuff. Because I guarantee 9 times out of 10, I'm not saying, that little red flag goes off in your mind. But what I'm saying, half the time, 75% of the time, it could be your own self sabotaging that relationship. It could be your own stuff pulling you away from something that could have been a blessing in your life. And I get them all the time. And, the difference between now and then, especially about 6 months ago, was that if something happened, I would pack all my stuff and I would leave. I mean, without a doubt. And I think my show just dropped. But I'm going to go ahead and keep talking because I have a There, I'm gonna try this. Ah, technology, right? That's usually how it goes. So I'm gonna try to get back online again, because I really, I really need to talk about this stuff. Um, it's just things that happen in my life have really switched a perspective for me. And where I'm at right now is a point in my life where I have been willing to give up the things that I deal with and just push through. When I gave up on the thought of I'm going to fail, I'm going to not get through this stuff, that's when things started changing for me. And I'm going to read something right here. I'm going to finish my stream here. It's not going to be the full 30 minutes because I'm having internet problems. But I'm going to post this video on my YouTube anyways, just because I want the complete, video on there for everything that I'm saying, even though, the live stream's gone. I'm going to read this real quick because it opened my eyes. It says, when you run away from all your problems, you eventually run from yourself. You forget the person you could be if you stayed in one place, worked through your downfalls, accepted your shortcomings, and then overcame them. You forget that there's a version of you who is reliable and passionate and strong. You lose a sense of pride you used to have from persevering. And persevering is one of those things that it helps you grow. It helps you become this person that you never thought you could be. And I'm telling you, from a personal standpoint, I would not be here right now talking to you guys and sending this stuff out without having to go through all that stuff, because that stuff made me who I am today. Don't run. Stay where you're at. Just think about it. Don't run from your problems. If you're running from something, stop. I'm telling you, stop from it, because you'll never heal until you realize that the problems that you have will always be with you. What better way to get rid of them or cope with them than to push through and overcome those problems? I appreciate you guys for sticking around for when my show was live. I hope you guys, get the rest of this video. I really hope you guys, really take to heart, about the running, because running is one of those things that is just not good. So I love you guys. I will talk to you guys later, and I'm gonna post a file, like a little minute snippet, just to kind of explain, that I'm gonna have the video on Instagram as well. So I appreciate you guys coming out, and I hope to see you guys next week. All right, love you guys. See ya.